Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. This is, part 3. Is it part 3? I believe so, of my history and song series, and this is covering 1997 through 2000. And of course, as we go on, then the numbers of years covered decrease because I wrote more songs about those times, and the last one will just be for 2013. So this is late 90s. It was, until the very end of the 90s, it was kind of a rough time to be an activist-oriented type in the U.S. because we had a Democrat in the White House and a theoretically booming economy. And that's a rough combination for trying to rouse the rabble. But there was stuff happening, especially near the end of the decade. And among those various things happening, I figured I'd start with 1997 when the Cannabis Cafe opened in Vancouver, British Columbia, which of course is not the U.S. and it's Canada. But anyway, this was a new development for North America at the time. Of course, there had been lots of talk of decriminalizing pot, and to some extent it had happened in various locations, but it was the beginning of a trend that would see lots of advances over the years until, a couple years ago when it was legalized for recreational use in Washington and Colorado. And, of course, the Cannabis Cafe in BC doesn't exist anymore, but there's a Cannabis Cafe here in Portland. And here's a song by that name.
I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sansamilia at the beginning of the day. But here I am in New York City, hiding out in Central Park, getting kidnapped by the police today sometime before dark. But I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sansamilia at the beginning of the day. The judge was down upon me frowning. He said, "Kid, get on your way. Just don't start out your mornings with espresso and a J." I said, I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sansamilia at the beginning of the day. Eric. Hitched a ride out to Portland, caught one up to BC, took the bus over to Hastings Street to have a bowl with my coffee. Now I'm up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sansamilia at the beginning of the day. One more time. Now I'm up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sansamilia at the beginning of the day.
That's the great Sean Staples on mandolin and Rich Calogero on lead guitar there. And from around the same, let's see, was it the same CD actually? Yeah, same performance at Club Passim. I'll do another song that I wrote about events that were happening at that time in the late 90s. For 16 months, I believe it was, there was a occupation of a whole bunch of land along the Mississippi River in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where very much in keeping with the with Earth First road blockades and occupations in different wilderness areas around that time in Idaho and elsewhere, and the anti-road campaigns in England. The same kind of thing was happening in Minnesota, which involved the biggest police action in Minnesota history up to that time. Somehow or other, 800 cops to arrest 25 activists, many of whom had chained themselves by the neck or other body parts to various houses that were slated to be destroyed, which were then burned down at the time. With I think the governor was there warming his hands by the fire. And then the folks moved a few hundred feet away to another area where they set up camp and built some amazing camping structures and lived in trees until the trees were cut down while they were in them, essentially, one limb at a time. And I visited the Minnehaha Free State on a number of occasions during that time. And this is a song I wrote about that wonderful place.
This is a song about a place that no longer exists, but was near and dear to my heart when it existed. It no longer exists because of the biggest police action in Minnesota history. They sent 810 cops in to arrest 25 people. The people who were there had a better history of getting more people there when the cops came, but this time they caught them by surprise in between Christmas and New Year's at 2 in the morning and 30 degrees below zero. But yeah, this is a song for the folks out in Minneapolis. 6 o'clock in the air is filled with good things. The scent of eggs and coffee drifts upon the wind. Not far away the sacred fire burns. One century's shift is over and another one begins. People gathered from the 4 directions, united by a love of life, pledged to stand or fall. It's Wounded Knee and People's Park together. Here will be born a homeland, not a highway to the mall. And it's morning at the Minnehaha Free State, a little strip of stolen native land. Along the banks of the Mississippi, right here the Mendota make their stand. The Mendota people lived along this river, fished among its waters and hunted on the plains. Now they are a people with no homeland. They say here beside the river they'll remain. And it's morning at the Minnehaha Free State, a little strip of stolen native land. Along the banks of the Mississippi, right here the Mendota make their stand. And when the cops and dozers come to carry off every face, will you come to Minnehaha? Rise up, lock down, and take their place. 'Cause it's morning at the Minnehaha Free State, a little strip of stolen native land. Along the banks of the Mississippi, right here the Mendota make their stand. It's morning at the Minnehaha Free State, a little strip of stolen native land. along the banks of the Mississippi. Right here the Mendota make their stand.
And then right around the time of the Minnehaha Free State, there were then and before then and later after then, but specifically around that time, there was Earth First encampments and efforts to stop logging of old growth redwoods in Northern California, and there's a whole bunch of good folks involved with these campaigns. And in 1997, one of those folks was a guy named Gypsy David Chain, originally from Texas, and he was killed by a falling tree that was aimed at him by a logger who was upset, and that's one of the many things that happened there in Northern California in 1997. It was it during or just after Julia Butterfly was up in the tree, getting lots of good media attention for what she was doing, and other people were down on the ground playing a very dangerous game called cat and mouse. But anything you were doing there to protect the trees was dangerous because of the environment there, social and media environment, and of course the behavior of the authorities. This is a song called Death of David Chain.
Tom Brokaw got on TV and repeated the big lie. See the mill all boarded up, hear the sympathetic sigh. He summed it up succinctly with these vicious words: it's your paycheck or your planet, the loggers of the birds. Pete Wilson and his cronies were nowhere to be found. They said big timber is our business, to the dollar we are bound. Their absence was a message, we'll turn a blinded eye. Don't expect us to give a damn if anyone should die. Charles Hurwitz told the nation, the battle lines are drawn. These eco-terrorists won't stop till all your jobs are gone. His PR team worked overtime to build up every wall. These bomb throwers and tree spikers just want to kill you all. A man stood at the chainsaw knowing only what he knew, and everything he learned said it's either me or you. His saw lanced through the redwood, many hateful words he said, and several seconds later, David Chain was lying dead. Some will call this man a killer, some will call this man a thug, some will cover it in lies and try to sweep it beneath the rug. But from Oakland to Fortuna, Sacramento to D.C., there is murder in the air, and there are killers running free. From Oakland to Fortuna, Sacramento to D.C., there is murder in the air, and there are killers running free.
And around the same time, there was a group called the Biotic Baking Brigade, which was especially active, and they were throwing pies in the faces of authority figures, and usually light-colored pies, like cream pie and that sort of thing, which is the best kind of pie to throw in the face of authority figures, because pies that are like have berries in them, or and might have some kind of a reddish color, are problematic because they look like blood. So then people might think that you've actually done harm to one of these folks. But so I think there might have been certain strategic mistakes made, specifically in the pie that was thrown at the mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, which was a mixed berry pie, which resulted in pie throwers having bones broken by the authorities and several months in prison. Oftentimes they got away with not doing prison time for these crimes, which oftentimes folks attacked by the pies did not want to press charges because, well, it seemed to me, I didn't do a survey, exhaustive research or anything, but it seemed to me that the people, the corporate criminals, tended not to press charges because they actually didn't want any publicity for what they had done that had gotten them a pie in the face, whereas the politicians did tend to press charges and more often, and I think that was because their reputation is everything for them, and so even if they are criminals, they do want media attention, and I don't know. So they I think they also dropped charges, but more often pressed them. But things got a little. I think that the BBB stopped being active after 9/11 because of the general tendency of the authorities to equate activism of any kind, of the most mildly physical nature, to be basically terrorism, in their words. But anyway, here is a song for the BBB.
I don't know if there's any pie throwers in the audience. Yeah? Planning on throwing any pies? I think there'll be some pie throwing going on in D.C. in the next... I don't know if there will be. I guess they got those places pretty heavily guarded, but I know Dave will be down there, so you never know what'll happen. But the president of the International Monetary Fund got hit with a pie in the face several weeks ago in Bangkok. And up in New Hampshire, they got the genetic engineer Neil First. Dave Pike did that. Or, no, Creamy Jeans is his name, Agent Creamy Jeans. And they got Charles Hurwitz out in California, the mayor of San Francisco, and a whole bunch of other people that really desperately deserved pies in the face, or probably a lot more. So I wrote a song for the Biotic Baking Brigade, and I hope you all sing along with me. If you don't know the words, you'll pick them up by the second chorus or so. See the man in his limousine, in his tie and well-pressed shirt, hoping that he's not been seen on the lookout for dessert. He knows that he is guilty, and a visit might be paid by the vegan vigilantes of the Biotic Baking Brigade. What's that sailing through the air in the boardroom? See them shiver. You can spend your life hoping for pie in the sky, but the baking brigade delivers. There's the chorus. If you sell your city's soul to the landlord's greedy pack, you, my friend, have earned yourself a tasty pastry snack. You can call yourself a liberal and hope your crimes will fade, but your sellout soul will be exposed by the Biotic Baking Brigade. What's that sailing through the air in the boardroom? See them shiver. You can spend your life hoping for pie in the sky, but the baking brigade delivers. If you cut down the last of the forests, spew poison in the air, don't you be surprised to find that cheesecake in your hair. Yes, if you are a corporate criminal, you've surely made the grade to receive a fresh baked goodie from the Biotic Baking Brigade. Here we go. What's that sailing through the air in the boardroom? See them shiver. You can spend your life hoping for pie in the sky, but the Baking Brigade delivers. scoundrels of industry, we know of your disgrace. So smile for the camera with the cream pie in your face. You can hope that we won't find you out as you're hiding in the shade. Someday soon you'll meet your doom, the biotic baking brigade. Here we go. What's that sailing through the air in the boardroom? See them shiver. You can spend your life hoping for pie in the sky, but the baking brigade delivers. One more time. What's that sailing through the air in the boardroom? See them shiver. You can spend your life hoping for pie in the sky, but the baking brigade delivers.
And of course, people might think that they think of Bill Clinton oftentimes as a president who reigned over a decade of peace and stuff, and help broker peace talks in Ireland and Palestine, all sorts of cool stuff. But theoretically, but actually, of course, the peace talks in Palestine have been a disaster for the Palestinian people since '93, and things just keep getting worse. And of course, Clinton presided over sanctions on Iraq that were initiated by his predecessor, but which, under his rule, caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, which, of course, his Secretary of State said was a price worth paying. And Clinton also bombed Afghanistan and Sudan, killing people who had nothing to do with the terrorist attacks on the U.S. embassies in other countries. Not long before that, and I wrote a song about that particular little incident in, I believe it was 1998.
It's a strange time to be a leftist folk singer in America. In this time of people mourning the deaths of thousands of innocent people in New York and Washington. The thing is that I think it's true for many of us here. We've been mourning the deaths of people for a long time. And those who ask why such a horrible thing would happen haven't been to Iraq. From Guatemala to Korea, to the tunnels beneath Hanoi, from Tulsa to El Chorrillo, fat man to little boy. We fought them in Nicaragua and upon the Cuban shore. Killed Gaddafi's daughter, see what the fatwas got in store. We're gonna bomb our way to freedom with the cruise missiles of justice and the spent shells of democracy. Oh, say, can you see? From Kabul to Khartoum, where Allah's martyrs bled, to the Iraqi desert, 200,000 people dead. We're gonna bomb our way to freedom with the cruise missiles of justice and the spent shells of democracy. Oh, say, can you see? From the school of the assassins to Argentina's dirty war, From Arizona to Nevada, we'll nuke our way to heaven's door. We're gonna bomb our way to freedom with the cruise missiles of justice and the spent shells of democracy. All say, can you see? We're gonna bomb our way to freedom with the cruise missiles of justice and the spent shells of democracy. All say, can you see?
And of course, not long after that was the U.S. NATO invasion of Yugoslavia.
Nighttime comes and everybody wonders, will tomorrow bring the light of day? Will our house be rubble blown asunder? In the cellar we will hide ourselves and pray. Will the smoke clear in the morning? Will the city all go down in flames? Will the factory be standing? Will life here ever be the same? There's terror in the skies of this city. Fear is in the hearts of children, women, and men. And you never see the faces of the killers as the smart bombs fall again. Will there be a job for me to go to? Will there be food upon my plate? After so many years of hungry sanctions, what did my child do to earn this fate? There's terror in the skies of this city. Fear is in the hearts of children, women, and men. And you never see the faces of the killers as the smart bombs fall again. Talk of Gaza and of Algiers. They wring their hands when Irish shoppers die. But if you want to know a life of terror, look up at night into the Baghdad sky. There's terror in the skies of this city. Fear is in the hearts of children, women, and men. And you never see the faces of the killers as the smart bombs fall again.
There I am. I almost lost myself. Let's see. And there's a song that I wanted to play that I didn't load, and I can't get it on. But we'll just continue then. Of course, they were not only bombing the world as usual, but negotiating free trade agreements. Those Democrats were talking about, Bill Clinton and the U.S. Leadership back then. Not only were they bombing everybody, but they were they were also negotiating free trade agreements such as NAFTA, which happened under Clinton's watch, and the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, which was ruinous for workers all over the world. And then, of course, the World Trade Organization negotiations in 1999, which were aimed at further corporatizing the whole system to prevent democracy and promote corporate ownership of everything and control over trade policies and basically the world. And people eventually figured out that the Democrats were trying to screw us, along with the Republicans, and organizing finally started to blossom by the late 90s and right around the turn of the century, and continued quite impressively until 9/11 kind of put a damper on things in many ways. But before that, when the movement was going strong in North America, Europe, Australia, and elsewhere, and most notably Latin America, I wrote this song.
While we were in Bonn, basically having a big party, there were a lot of stuff was going on in Genoa, and part of a series, and interrupted recently by a cataclysmic event. But this is a song about shutting down the various financial institutions of the world. And it's sort of generic, vague kind of thing, it can apply to whichever one you care to shut down. And it has a 4-word chorus, and I hope you'll all join me with it. We shall fight them on the beaches, we shall fight them on the shore. They will bring us exploitation, we'll bring them their class war. And we'll lock down to the gates as they're spreading vicious lies. They want to dominate the world, and we see through their disguise. If they'd have one big multinational with their corporate flag unfurled, searching everywhere for the lowest wages in the world, then we'll have one big union from Melbourne to Prague to Seattle town. Wherever they may go, we will shut them down, we'll shut them down. We'll shut them down. We will shut them down. Got the chorus yet? That's it. And CNN will spread the lies. This is just how it's gotta be. Well, they can have their CNN, 'cause we've got our IMC. And we'll tell the truth quite clearly, though they don't wanna hear it. And they'll try to stop our broadcasts, 'cause the truth is that they fear it. We'll shut them down. We'll shut them down. We will shut them down. They'd have a world full of strip malls, plants grown by biotech. As long as they get richer, they just don't give a heck. But we don't want their ecocide. We want a world we can live in. That's why we're here to stay, and we're not gonna give in. We'll shut them down. We'll shut them down. We will shut them down. Sounding good? And they will infiltrate us, provocateurs within our ranks. And if they can't divide us, they'll send the planes and tanks. But we will stand together, pacifists and zapatistas, workers, farmers, the indigenous, tree huggers and baristas. We'll shut them down. We'll shut them down. What are we gonna do? We will shut them down. And we will build a new world without the corporate elite. And we will see the day of their international defeat. We'll have self-determination and equality for all. For what choice do we really have but to rise up and see them fall? We'll shut them down. We'll shut them down. We will shut them down. One more time. We'll shut them down. We'll shut them down. We will shut them down.
And along with the creative civil disobedience activities in various cities throughout the world that were happening around that time, there was also lots of stuff going on in lots of different communities around the world, certainly around the U.S. The guerrilla gardening movement was one of many local activities that was flourishing, that had a lot to do with that particular crowd of the sorts of folks who were involved with the protests against IMF and World Bank and stuff. Were also often involved with taking over vacant land and gardening it where they lived in New York and California, Florida, wherever. It was happening all over the place. And good friends of mine in New York were involved with the guerrilla gardening group More Gardens, and I wrote this song upon request from one of those folks.
This neighborhood is blighted, that's what people say. Half the buildings are abandoned, everything is gray. Half the kids have eyes because of the sewage plants nearby, and the mayor doesn't seem to care if we live or die. That's the situation. Now let me take you to the part, the center of this neighborhood, what you could call the heart of aching, a lot of broken glass. For years that's what it's been, but the neighbors got together, said this is where we will begin. We'll dig this dirt, plant a seed, push aside the concrete so the earth beneath is free. We'll plant a garden, grow some food to eat, and the sunflowers look into the sky, say we reclaim this street. One day we had accomplished what the mayor always said. He was trying to bring us through his clubs upon our heads. The neighborhood is clean, the dealer's gone away. We had good food to eat, a place for the kids to play. We'll dig this dirt, plant a seed, push aside the concrete so the earth beneath is free. We'll plant a garden, grow some food to eat, and the sunflowers look into the sky, say we reclaim this street. Twice the city came here, said this is not our land. Twice the cops destroyed it, all the work of our own hands. Uprooted plants and broken tools lay scattered all around. But the next day the only thing you could see was fingers in the ground. We'll dig this dirt, plant a seed, push aside the concrete so the earth beneath is free. We'll plant a garden, grow some food to eat, and the sunflowers look into the sky, say we reclaim this street. We reclaim this street.
And then along with the guerrilla gardeners, there were various other extremely creative types doing all sorts of stuff. And of course that was true before and since, but there was a bit of a upshoot of activity in that, in all sorts of ways. And there's some folks I met in Bonn who had a fascinating contraption that I wrote a song about, which I believe I introduce in this version of this song, so I will just leave it there and let the me of 2001 do the talking.
I was at the climate change protests in Bonn while all the leaders of the world were gathering to discuss how not to save it, and we got a 1% reduction in emissions. It's wonderful. The protest was really great, even as we were all losing, which is the kind of nice thing, or the kind of strange thing, I guess, about being on the left, is that there's so many wonderful people, and all these wonderful protests with these wonderful folks, and we all get together to sort of lose. But, maybe we'll win eventually. But we have fun anyway, when the cops aren't beating us too much. There were these folks from England who, I think, they really embodied the fun of the whole protest scene. They came with a bicycle known as the Rinky Dink, and The rinky-dink was this thing that it had 2 bicycles on the back and 2 in the front, and then a tandem in the middle. The 2 in the back and the 2 in the front moved the thing forward. The tandem in the middle, when you pedaled that, it powered a generator. And between the electrical generator, bicycle-powered generator, and the 2 solar panels over the hood that was covering the thing, and the windmill on top, that powered a sound system radio station. And the windmill, of course, was mounted on a radio antenna, which constantly blew soap bubbles. And it seats like 8 adults, I guess. Six adults and like 30 children. There's child seats all over the place, and it's all day glow and beautiful. And so they'll pull up, and they're an immediate spectacle. I mean, for somebody like me who really hates to book gigs and hates to do anything organizational like that, it would be the perfect vehicle, because you just show up and you play, and everybody shows up and listens because you look so strange. The really sort of shocking thing is when you're playing a concert through this sound system, and then it's being broadcast like by people riding around on their bicycles with little speakers and stuff, because they can all pick it up on the radio station. And you know that anytime these 2 guys behind you stop pedaling, the sound goes out. So I wrote this song to encourage them to keep pedaling. It's a pedal-powered radio station. It'll fire up your imagination. It's a sound system. It'll make you dance, might make you jump right out of your pants. Traveling roadshow microphone with a bicycle seat as the throne. When you see it, you'll agree it's right there on your frequency. It's the rinky-dink, the rinky-dink. When you're feeling on the brink, it'll make you laugh, it'll make you think. I'm talking about that rinky-dink. Well, the soap's a bubbling, breeze is blowing, ain't no telling where it's going. Windmill swinging with the tribe, it's that day-glow solar vibe. Stop a riot, it's been done, they'll part the clouds and bring the sun. It don't matter where you've been, just sit on down and tune right in. It's a rinky-dink, the rinky-dink just might be the missing link. It'll make you nod, it'll make you wink. I'm talking about that rinky-dink. They'll come rolling through your town, you might go up and never come down. It's the cure for air pollution, it's the rinky-dink solution. Folks will wonder, folks will stare, kids will jump into their chair. When they go, you know the rub, drop a quid into the tub. It's the rinky-dink, the rinky-dink. It'll ease up any kink, it'll ease up any kink. Talking about that rinky-dink, the rinky-dink, the rinky-dink. It'll make your troubles shrink. It'll ease up any kink. No, there's something else there. Lots of things rhyme with dink. It would give those folks something to drink. Turn the pedals, clackety clink. I'm talking about that rinky dink.
And of course, there was the pirate radio movement. Still is the pirate radio movement. There seemed to be a sort of I mean, it was before radio got started on the internet quite so much, and before YouTube and before blogging and indie media and pirate radio were for that period of time. Really important institutions, and there was a lot of people seizing the airwaves all over the country and getting raided and then setting up somewhere else. And one of the best of them was and is Free Radio Santa Cruz in Santa Cruz, California. And after the FCC raided their establishment one time, I can't remember exactly when, I wrote this song.
This is how it started. It's not hard to understand. From coast to coast they're lying at a CEO's command. From nationalist public radio, CNN and NBC, Big Brother spewing propaganda from the disinformation ministry. They say the economy is booming. We hear the homeless beggars cry. They say we help poor countries. We see bombs falling from the skies. Reality doesn't exist, they're trying to say. But some of us decided there is another way. Seize the airwaves, seize the time. 'Cause lying to the people is the real crime. When it's all owned by corporations and theirs is the only word. We will seize the airwaves, speak freely and be heard. We will seize the airwaves, speak freely and be heard. Someone got a transmitter, started up a station. Then the idea spread right across the nation. Like the land and water, the air must be free. So let us shout together, fuck the FCC. Seize the airwaves, seize the time. 'Cause lying to the people is the real crime. When it's all owned by corporations and theirs is the only word. We will seize the airwaves, speak freely and be heard. We will seize the airwaves, speak freely and be heard. And we'll do it all together in a grassroots style, tearing down the fences throughout this whole square mile. It's the new town meeting, it's the way the news should be. The rulers call it chaos, we say it's democracy. So when you turn on the radio and you've had it with this shit, from 88 to 107 makes you wanna have a fit. When you listen to the music and it's all the same pop song, start up a pirate station, 'cause that's where you belong. Seize the airwaves, seize the time. 'Cause lying to the people is the real crime. When it's all owned by corporations and theirs is the only word. We will seize the airwaves, speak freely and be heard. Seize the airwaves, seize the time. 'Cause lying to the people is the real crime. When it's all owned by corporations and theirs is the only word. We will seize the airwaves, speak freely and be heard. We will seize the airwaves, speak freely and be heard.
And of course, seize the airwaves was one of the many phrases that I did not even invent, which were floating around at the time, which I thought made good fodder for songs. And another phrase that was very popular at the time was the one with which I made this song. If that's proper English, I have no idea. I always feel very erudite when I say with which.
I say the hungry should have food. I speak for many when I say no one should have 7 homes, while some don't have any. Though I may find myself stranded in some strange place with naught but a vapid stare, I remember the world and I know we are everywhere. And I say the time for the rich, it will come. Let me count the ways, victories or hints of the future. Havana, Caracas, Chiapas, Buenos Aires. How many people are wanting and waiting and fighting for their share? They hide in their ivory towers, but we are everywhere. Religions and prisons and races, borders and nations,
FBI agents and congressmen and corporate radio stations. They try to keep us apart, but we find each other, and the rulers are always aware that they're a tiny minority, and we are everywhere. With every bomb that they drop, every home they destroy, every land they invade, comes a new generation from under the rubble saying, we are not afraid. They will pretend we are few, but with each child that a billion mothers bear, comes the next demonstration that we are everywhere. We are everywhere.
That's me and Ali Rosenblatt. And, you know, I mean, of course, 9/11 put a real damper on the movement because of the immediate tendency of authorities and media to associate anybody protesting with Al-Qaeda. But there was also a heck of a lot of police brutality on a really massive scale in many different countries where the movement was actively opposing the meetings of the corporate elite. And one of the many places where police shot demonstrators, but in around that time, and in one of the somewhat fewer cases where they actually shot and killed demonstrators. I mean, they shot a guy in Sweden. I mean, places that aren't known for police shooting demonstrators. But in Italy, they shot and killed Carlo Giuliani, and also they were rioting all over the city and savagely beating people for just being there, including lots of folks I know who are hiding under tables and hoping not to be attacked, and that sort of thing. But it was a traumatized bunch of folks that came back from Genoa. I was in Germany to see a whole bunch of them coming back who were from there, and heard stories about many others, and read something Starhawk wrote this song.
When the world has gone crazy, and it's all becoming clear, when they're gunning down our comrades, and it seems the end is near, as they're loading up the launchers for the tear gas grenades, we can take off our bandanas and kiss behind the barricades. When it's madness all around, and you can see this at a glance, we will sing and we will cry, we will laugh and we will dance, as they shout their marching orders beneath the helicopter blades. We shall seize the moment for a kiss behind the barricades. They will try to break our spirit, and at times they may succeed, but our love for the world is stronger than their greed. When the building is surrounded and hope begins to fade, in my final hour, a kiss behind the barricades. As the movement grows, there will be hills and bends, but at the center of the struggle are your lovers and your friends. And the more we hold each other up, the less we can be swayed. Here's to love and solidarity, and a kiss behind the barricades.
And of course, along with police brutality and 9/11, I'd say the other of the top biggest problems with the movement at that time and since then and before then was the movement itself. and the tendency of activists to form circular firing squads. And this is one of the songs I wrote on that subject.
I don't drive a car because they run on gas, and if I did, it'd run on biomass. I ride a bike, or sometimes a skateboard, so fuck off all you drivers and your yummy hordes, sitting all day in the traffic queues. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't eat meat, I just live on moldy chives, or the donuts that I found in last week's dumpster dives. You people in that restaurant, I think you are so sad when you could have been eating bagels like the ones that I just had. I think it is a shame all the bourgeois things you do. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't wear leather, and I like my clothes in black, and I made a real cool hammock from a moldy coffee sack. I like to hop on freight trains, I think that is so cool. It's so much funner doing this than being stuck in school. I can't believe you're wearing those brand new shiny shoes. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't have sex, and there will be no sequel, because heterosexual relationships are inherently unequal. I'll just keep on moshing to anti-flag and crass until there are no differences in gender, race, or class. All you brainwashed readers, you just haven't got a clue. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't believe in voting, I think consensus is the key. I don't believe in stupid notions like representative democracy. Whether or not it works, I know it is the case, and only direct action can save the human race. So when I see you in your voting booth, then I know it's true. I'm a better anarchist than you. I am not a pacifist, I like throwing bricks, and when the cops have caught me and I've taken a few licks, I always feel lucky if I get a bloody nose, because I feel so militant and everybody knows by the time the riot is all through, I'm a better anarchist than you. I'm a better anarchist than you.
And of course I recorded that just a couple of years ago at Big Red Studio, but it is very much about that period, most especially. So it's in this section, in part 3 of the History and Song broadcast, and we are coming to the end of it now. It's a bit of a shorter show than others, but an hour seems like plenty long, and this is about where I plan to get to, sort of dividing it by year, but also sort of by theme, in a way, because after this we get to the 9/11 and post 9/11 era immediately following that, which seems like a different sort of time in many ways. So I thought I'd divide it that way. And so we're now reaching the end of the show and the end of the 97 to 2000 period, and we get to near the end of 2000, and the Second Intifada starts with the visit of Sharon to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and this is the first song I sort of finished that I wrote on the subject of the Palestinian struggle. And I will play this song and then bid you all adieu there in the chat room, and lovely to see you all again. Oh, incidentally, regarding that last song, the I'm a Better Anarchist Than You t-shirts really look good, and you can go to davidrovics.com and order them if you like. And if you're a subscriber, there's also a subscribe button at davidrovics.com, but if you're a subscriber, then you get them for half price. And there you go. There's your commercial announcement for the show. And here is Children of Jerusalem, and I will hope to see folks next week. I'll be doing part 4 next week, and then part 5 the week after. I think it's not always every Sunday, but for the next few Sundays it's every Sunday, because I'm home, and I found it's just too tough to try to do this while I'm on the road. So when I'm on the road, I'm skipping the show, but doing a bunch of them for now. And I'll also, incidentally, just recently ascertained that I will, here on Spreaker, I'll also be recording, broadcasting various parts of the People's Music Network winter gathering in New York City at the end of January. So any of you who feel like going or in the area or want to tune in on Spreaker, then I'll see you there then. But there's a bunch more shows coming up on the history broadcast up through the end of December, and when I'll be doing 2013. But here is September 2000.
I got an entire tour canceled as a result of writing this song, and I was thoroughly denounced. I've never been so thoroughly denounced. Well, not until the past couple weeks, anyway. Did you see them praying? Watch the army marching in. As they clubbed old women, did you see the general grin? Watch the stones fly and the snipers taking aim. On Shatila's birthday, it's a calculated game, and they're gunning down the children of Jerusalem. Did you hear him screaming? Watch the horror on his face as he hid for cover in a tiny unprotected space. Did you hear his father pleading? There is a child here, trying to protect his son, who yelled in horror and in fear that they're gunning down the children of Jerusalem. Did you feel the wind blow from the helicopter blades? Did you smell the tear gas, see the demolition raids? Did you see the rockets and the dumb bullets fly? Did you feel the horror to watch one more young boy die as they're gunning down the children of Jerusalem? Did you see the roadblocks letting nobody go past? Watch the blood flow as time is running fast. See someone's brother taking his last breath, so close to the hospital but closer still to death, and they're gunning down the children of Jerusalem. Did you hear the fat cat say it's not what it appears? It's an armed uprising, a realization of our fears. Do you hear them chanting that this is their homeland? They want what's ours and we've got to make a stand. So we're gunning down the children of Jerusalem. Some want power, and it seems the world's theirs to give. Some just want peace and a decent place to live. Some talk of destiny and what their God has willed, while a mother weeps that her 9-year-old's been killed, and they're gunning down the children of Jerusalem. They're gunning down the children of Jerusalem. They're gunning down the children of Jerusalem. They're gunning down the children of Jerusalem.